As we stand there stunned, she looks us each in the face and says, with some trepidation,
Sis? Is that you?
She directs the question toward the girl sitting on the bed, whose face is a mirror image of her own. She looks somewhat exhausted and shaken, but those are the warm, honest eyes of the woman I had sworn an oath to protect. There's no mistake. The person who's shown up with Nana is undoubtedly Kohzuki Kazuna. Which means... I turn around and look at Yura. Due to the thick bandages hiding her face, I can't see what kind of expression she's making. Once again, silence descends upon the room.
That's right, Shugo.
Nana's sonorous voice breaks the ice.
She's the woman who's risen from the grave, the ghost from your past, Kohzuki Yura.
Everybody turns their eyes to Yura. However, she just smiles in response. Hold it, Nana. Her words don't make sense to me. The situation's already passed beyond the realm of my comprehension. So the person I rescued from Senri was actually Yura? Why on earth is Kazuna with you then?
Sheesh, you're such a blockhead. Isn't it obvious? On that day 2 weeks ago, I saved Kazuna-kun.
Nana says it as though it's perfectly obvious.
Besides, you're the one who was slow on the uptake. In the evening, Kazuna-kun had already been carried out of cult headquarters by a horse-drawn carriage. They sedated her so she wouldn't put up a fight. They were probably going to bury her somewhere in the mountains. I spotted them since I was staking out Senri and ended up getting in a scuffle with those crazy cultists. Man, they were awful. 3 of them ganged up on me, a weak little schoolgirl, though they weren't much of a match for my Bartitsu skills. When I saved her, Kazuna-kun had been heavily drugged, so it looked like she wouldn't be regaining consciousness for a while.
Kazuna nods silently. That means What the hell had I seen? My legs start to tremble. What I had believed to be the truth is suddenly changing into something else altogether.
Nah, I think you did the right thing. You're the one that ended up exposing Inspector Arishima's crimes, though...
She points over to Yura.
In any case, it looks like she was able to achieve her goal. I'm sure she probably calculated Inspector Arishima's failure into her plans. No matter what the outcome, she would be able to get what she desired.
Kazuna stares at her sister silently. Her goal?
That's right. To tell the truth, she nearly pulled it off. Man, she put on a pretty good show.
Sis?
At that moment, Kazuna suddenly speaks up.
You wanted to kill me, didn't you?
Yura just smiles in response. Ridiculous! Why would Yura want to...
How disgraceful, Shugo. Please refrain from shouting so loudly.
Nana cuts off my indignant cry with a sigh.
Let me break it down for you. 2 people cannot sit in the same chair. In order to live as Kohzuki Kazuna, she would have to make the real one disappear. That's why she ordered her followers to kill off Kazuna by pretending it was a directive from Akko or something. She knew that Inspector Arishima was going to destroy the church. Yura planned to use the confusion that followed to change places with Kazuna-kun. It's impressive how you were able to walk the line between Akko Ikuma's madness and Arishima's calculating nature, without anyone realizing that you were using them to carry out your own delusions. But it's such a shame. You killed my friend, and what's more, you're trying to get your hands on my brother. I'm not going to let you get away with this.
Nana declares, a smile on her face. However, Yura's face doesn't so much as budge. Nana burst into a fit of laughter after seeing that.
Oh, by the way, I have a question for you, Kohzuki Yura-kun. Those 2 girls you used as servants, were you the one who killed them?
The 2 murdered girls. She must be referring to Koyuki and Seri, who were found dead in that training facility.
Since they were attached to you, they didn't leave the cult as Akao ordered, but then Shugo and Toji-kun showed up. You were afraid they'd reveal the fact that you were the leader, so you... Well, I gather that's how things played out. Is that correct? You're going to play innocent to the bitter end, eh? Well, that leaves us in an awkward situation. If you repent and confess all your crimes, then you'll save me a bit of trouble.
Nana-san, surely you must be making some kind of mistake.
Yura suddenly speaks up. Her voice conveys a tone of gentle admonishment.
I'm Kohzuki Kazuna. I have absolutely no memory of ever killing anybody.
She says, with a smile on her face.
Sis! Why are you doing this? I've been searching for you this whole time! And now we finally get to meet.
There's no response from Yura. It's as though she's completely ignoring the fact that Kazuna exists.
Ah, I see what's going on here. Looks like it's time for me to step in. To be perfectly honest, it's not as though I don't enjoy doing this sort of thing. So, our first question is, why is Yura-kun so stubbornly insistent about changing places with Kazuna-kun?
Nana turns to face Keiichiro, who's standing in the corner of the room.
You should know the reason for that, Kohzuki-san, right?
What? Why the hell would I...
Keiichiro's been dazed and spacing out ever since Kazuna arrived. You can hear how confused he sounds after Nana suddenly fires off a question at him.
The cursed child. Wasn't Yura-kun called something similar to that by the other villagers when she was young? After you caught wind of those rumors, you had Yura-kun imprisoned inside this mansion.
That's nothing but a baseless rumor. I have no knowledge of ever doing that. This has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Oh ho, you're going to deny it? Last month, I went around and asked every family living in this area.
What?
Nana licks her lips. So that's what she was doing when Kazuna and I ran into her 2 weeks ago in Zushi.
According to them, the Kohzuki family stole a hermit's treasure and became fabulously wealthy. But as a result, an everlasting curse was placed on them. Due to that, one of the Kohzuki children was born with a cursed mark.
This is ridiculous. In this age of science, curses are nothing but some absurd fabrication of...
Exactly right. Ridiculous! Curses don't exist! If only you had ignored those rumors, then this whole fiasco wouldn't have happened. But you, just like all the other villagers, believed the rumors and were afraid of Yura-kun's mark. Curses originally held the same value to those who gave and received them. The hermit legend was probably something akin to jealousy towards the Kohzuki family, who had worked in the forestry business. Just recently, another family in the same situation as mine became rich overnight. Why do they get rich while my own family remains poor? Boo-hoo. That sort of jealousy gave rise to the legend of the family who stole a hermit's treasure and got cursed. It let the other villagers justify shunning them.
Father?
Kazuna asks with some trepidation.
Is that true?
However, Keiichiro remains silent, his face becoming stiff. Nana answers the question in its place.
Kazuna-kun, you were already in Tokyo by then, so it's understandable that you didn't know. That being said, this is all true. The head of the Kohzuki family valued his family's appearance in the eyes of society above all else, so he chose to hide the mark rather than defy the rumors. The more you try to shut down a rumor, the more credibility you give it. Even though he knew that, he chose to conform to society. His choice led to this calamity.
Father...
Don't look at me like that! I didn't do anything wrong. You have no reason to blame me.
I don't think there's any other choice here.
Nana looks at Keiichiro, a wry smile on her lips.
And the man who showed up after getting wind of those rumors was Narahashi Kazuna, later known as Inspector Arishima. The self-centered actions you took to try and protect yourself are directly tied to the two starring roles in this tragedy.
At a loss for words, all Keiichiro can do is glare back at Nana. She takes it all in stride and continues.
Oh, by the way, Shugo, did you ever look into Inspector Arishima's research organization?
Nope. I shake my head. Between Takako-chan's death and Shikasa Tokiko, I didn't have much time to look into stuff like that. Don't tell me that you even looked into that.
Well, of course I did. That's why I made some connections in the home ministry.
The home ministry? How the hell did you get to know people in there?
I used my powers of seduction. Oh, come on. I was joking. Enough with that scornful look.
She laughs and shrugs. Right. Phew, what a relief. I guess she does have at least some common sense in her.
Actually, one of the girls in my grade happened to be dating one of the top officials in the ministry. After I got some photos of them there, for some reason he was willing to do anything I asked of him. Man, oh man, there are some really kind people in this world.
What she's describing is blackmail, plain and simple. I'm flabbergasted. The stuff Nana does is so crazy it's not even within the realm of common sense.
My labors resulted in this report.
She produced a sheaf of documents from somewhere.
I don't understand all of these technical descriptions either, and explaining everything would take too long, so let's just leave that stuff out.
Nana continues to talk as she flips through the documents. Curious, I take a peek at the papers, only to find them covered with weird squiggles. They're all written in English.
They stimulated the brains of children with special talents to try and develop hidden abilities latent within human beings. People weren't too concerned with the ethical side of things during the war. They carried out horrible experiments under the pretense of potential military applications. What about you, Yura-kun? Did you experience this kind of stuff?
The burning curiosity on Nana's face is plain to see as she asks the question. However, Yura says nothing in reply. Even though we're discussing her own past, she doesn't even seem to show any reaction.
Aw, you're so heartless, Yura-kun. Perhaps you simply hate me.
Nana pauses to think for a moment, then continues.
Oh well, nothing I can do about that. A person who loves killing so much is probably not going to be very pleasant anyway.
Nana lets out a wicked-sounding cackle. Hold it, Nana. Nana ignores me as I'm about to deliver a rebuke.
Anyway, according to the research facility, they had some marginal success with her. That being said, it was rather shady research to begin with. None of their results are really worth mentioning.
Nana-san, what do you mean, results?
Kazuna wears a look of intense seriousness on her face. Nana flashes a creepy smile and replies.
Kazuna-kun, what do you think they were?
I have no idea.
Oh, come on, Nana, don't start acting all pretentious now. I have no idea what goes on inside your head. Though I say that in an exasperated manner, Nana jumps at my words.
That's exactly it, Shugo! Nobody knows what's going on in other people's heads, correct? And that's where her ability comes in handy. She can read people's minds by touching their bodies. It's telepathy.
What? Our conversation with Nana has taken a turn for the outrageous.
Oh, Shugo, don't look at me like that. It's the truth, plain and simple. It's all recorded in these documents.
She smacks the sheaf of papers.
They reported that the power itself was actually very slight, and she couldn't endure it when it was put to actual use. Furthermore, Yura-kun became psychologically unstable from the effects of the experiment.
I recall what Keiichiro had told me 1 month ago.
Yura was sent back to us after the research facility closed down. By that time, she was already broken beyond any hope of salvation. She'd cry, scream, howl, and vomit over and over again. It took over half a year before she started to settle down.
Deemed useless, her mind in ruins, she was returned to the Kozukis.
However,
Her power had caught the eye of a person in that facility.
Nana glances over at me. Arashima-san, right?
Exactly! Even after the war had ended and the organization was disbanded, he hadn't forgotten about Yura-kun. He came upon the idea of using her power to take Senri into his own hands. A power that lets her see into another person's heart just through touch. It was the perfect bait for a cult leader. That's when he decided to come to Zushi and squirrel her away from the Kohzuki family. Things were still pretty messed up from the war at the time. No matter what kind of coercive techniques he employed, they'd probably never be uncovered. And the rest, as they say, is history. The number of Senri's followers increased, just as Inspector Arishima had planned. However, that's when Akao Ikuma started his violent rampage.
And that's where Nana stops.
And thus concludes my knowledge regarding the bizarre serial murder cases that happened in Ueno.
Her speech finished, Nana stands there with a smug smile of satisfaction. An oppressive silence descends upon the room. Everybody's gaze is focused on the girl sitting in her bed. However... Wait a second, Nana. I finally break the silence. There's a part in your story that doesn't sit right with me.
Oh?
She acts like she's been expecting me to say something like that. Nana narrows her eyes with glee and waits for my question. There are matters that need clarification. That's right. The person I rescued that night at Senri's training facility was Kohzuki Yura. I have to accept that. After all, she's sitting here right in front of me. But the thing is, who the heck was that girl they found in the mountains behind Senri's temple? Shigesa Tokiko told me that a cow Ikuma had killed Yura and buried her back there.
Come on, Shugo. Are you going senile? The answer is as plain as the nose on your face.
Nana shrugs, amazed.
3 locations, 3 girls. Just go through them one by one.
Go through them? Yura, who should have been dead, appeared in front of me as Kazuna. Kazuna, who was about to be murdered by Senri cultists, was rescued from the training facility. Which means that... it was the girl Akao used as the leader's body double.
Bingo! That's the right answer, Shugo.
She nods. I find it hard to believe that Shigesa Tokiko lied to me back then, though.
Shigesa-kun was probably mistaken. Even though she was high-ranking, she was just a tool used by Akao Ikuma. She wasn't informed of most of the cult's secrets. She saw the body double Akao had prepared for Yura-kun and misinterpreted his plan. She thought he was going to make his puppet the leader and take control of the cult for himself.
Now that she mentions it, I do remember Shigesa Tokiko not knowing about Arashima-san and telling me that she hadn't seen the leader recently.
She probably made a mistake when she saw the girl that had been killed. She thought that the real leader had been killed and the fake had survived. That confirmed the suspicions she had been harboring against the church.
I think back to what happened that day. And the way I felt that something was out of place. Well, if that's the case, something just doesn't seem right. We're making some kind of critical mistake here. If that's the case, I look up at Nana. Who killed Shigasa Tokiko then?
It was Yura-kun, naturally.
Nana replies without a shred of doubt.
Inspector Arishima was always in the shadows controlling everything. No one, aside from Akko or Yura, could have done it.
You're wrong! That's impossible! I'm shouting before I realize what I'm doing. Don't you get it, Nana? Yura's blind! I should know that best of all after having slept with her so many times 7 years ago. There's no way she would be able to kill somebody and then make it look like a suicide, right? However...
Well, that puts us in an awkward situation.
Nana laughs, seemingly untroubled at all, despite what she just said.
Well, how would you explain this, then?
She pulls out the notebook that she found earlier inside Yura's room. That's Yura's diary, right? You said it yourself just a few moments ago.
Shugo. Ugh.
Nana breathes a deep sigh. She opens up the notebook to show me what's inside.
Do you really think a blind person could write such perfect-looking characters?
The entire page is covered in delicate, beautiful writing. I feel like my legs are going to collapse underneath me. If what she showed me is real, then the Yura I saw during those days was...
That's right, Shugo. Yura-kun's blindness is a sham.
Nana's words ring in my ears as I stand there in shock. That means you've... I look at the girl on the bed. You've been deceiving me this entire time? Why would Yura do such a thing? She just sits there, not saying a word.
Shugo, you're being too self-conscious here. At that time, Yura-kun wasn't trying to deceive you or anything.
Nana ends up being the one to explain things.
She hid her eyes and pretended to be blind because she had something she wanted to hide. It was the cursed mark the villagers whispered about. It showed up quite clearly in the eyes.
Mark? It's the word she mentioned earlier, the proof of the curse laid upon the Kohzuki family.
You little bitch! I can't believe you even...
His voice heavy with bitterness, Keiichiro glares daggers at Nana. She completely ignores him, raises her voice lyrically, and continues.
Well then, Yura-kun. If you're going to insist that you're Kohzuki Kazuna to the bitter end, why don't you take off those bandages for us, eh? If my deductions are correct, underneath will be definitive proof that you are indeed Kohzuki Yura.
Yura still doesn't react.
Sis.
Kazuna steps forward and addresses her sister in a hoarse voice.
Please. I just want to know the truth.
Keiichiro makes a face and averts his eyes. Underneath those bandages is proof of the abominable past he tried to hide. His betrayal of his own daughter in order to protect himself. His own shriveled heart obsessed with conforming to society. Who would want others to see such things? Yura just keeps right on smiling.
This is irritating.
Toji breaks the silence, her tone all business. She had been leaning against the wall coolly watching everything unfold, but now she pushes herself upright.
It's a waste of time to drag this out any longer. Just pull them off her. Let me do it.
She casually strolls toward the bed. Toji, wait! I quickly grab her by the shoulder and pull her back.
Huh?
This is something I should do. 7 years ago, on that fateful day, if my failure to grant her wishes resulted in her madness, then I share an equal part of the blame. I have to end this with my own hands. After staring into my face for a while, Toji says,
Whatever. Do as you like.
and returns to her spot in the corner of the room. Now, Yura. I approach the girl sitting atop the bed.
Yes.
She responds to my voice. The edges of her mouth soften after Yura tilts her head questioningly. I want to know the truth as well. I continue. Please, let me remove your bandages. Yura lets out a small sigh, but then,
Sure. If that is what you desire.
she smiles and turns to face me. Okay. I nod and grab her bandages. There's nothing unusual underneath, just a charming, beautiful face. I hear somebody behind me gulp.
I knew this couldn't go on forever. But still,
She opens her eyes. Her own gray eyes stare straight into mine.
Yep. A genetic anomaly resulting in discoloration. That is the true nature of her cursed mark.
Nana's words echo inside of my half-dazed brain.
She will bear this mark her entire life. As the cursed child, she received no love from her family. That's why she chose to cast aside her own identity.
oh my gosh.
The childish stirrings of jealousy gave rise to foolish accusations, which in turn transformed into tales of a curse that got circulated around. It warped her life so much that it caused her to go mad.
Nana stops and shrugs. But if that's the case, what about the fact that Yura's eyes were injured when we found her in Senri's training facility? Nana nods in response to my question.
It was the obvious thing for her to do. The mark is proof that she's Kohzuki Yura. If she wanted to live as Kazuna, she'd have to destroy her own eyes.
But the thing is,
Yura suddenly pipes up softly.
I failed.
A gentle smile spreads across her face. Her slender body begins to tremble, as though she's trying to hold something back.
I steeled myself up and plunged the knife into my eyes. It hurt so bad. I was so scared I thought I was going to go insane. I tried my best to get deep in there.
The thought alone sends a chill up my spine. Imagine a girl alone in a dark room driving a shaking knife into her own eyes. The pain and fear she felt at that moment. Her despair and loneliness, knowing that it was her only choice. They're not things we could possibly hope to understand. Yura. She gently closes her eyes.
I couldn't do it. I couldn't push the knife in all the way and destroy my eyes completely. Everything's pointless so long as I bear this mark upon my eyes.
Tears flow out from her closed eyes.
What a bunch of rubbish.
Toji's cold voice rings out from alongside the wall.
You wanted to escape from your own fate and blindly live someone else's life. That's just not acceptable under any circumstances. In the end, you gave in to fate because you are weak. That's all there is to it.
That's a pretty cold-blooded way of judging her, though Toji's had to overcome her share of obstacles since she was born as well. Her quiet yet strong presence caused a tense silence to fall over the room. Well, I'm not sure what to say. The words are practically overflowing out of my brain right now, but I just can't force myself to speak up. However, the awkward silence is broken by a harsh laugh.
You think your convenient little explanation explanation even comes close?
Yura screams, leaping out of her bed.
Fighting against fate? There's no way something like that's possible. My fate was sealed the moment I was born. And it was all just because the color of my eyes was different.
And that's why you're weak.
Toji's scornful laughter cuts Yura off.
That's why you don't give a shit about taking other people's lives? Ridiculous. I've had enough of your spoiled attitude. You brought this misfortune upon yourself. It has nothing to do with the environment in which you were born. You leave yourself no room for pity.
Please, stop this!
Kazuna jumps in between them as though she's trying to protect Yura.
You're wrong, Toji-san. My sister's not to blame.
Tears ooze out of the corner of Kazuna's eyes. Yura looks up, surprised.
I know it might be too late for me to say this now, but... Sis, I had no idea you were suffering this whole time. I had no idea.
The tears flow freely down her cheeks.
I'm so sorry, sis. I know you probably won't forgive me that easily, but I'll try my hardest to make up for all the suffering you had to go through up until now. So...
Kazuna searches for the right words to say.
You're not alone anymore, sis. That's all I wanted to tell you.
Yura watches Kazuna, a strangely sober expression on her face. And...
Nana-san.
She ignores Kazuna's words and instead addresses Nana, who's retired to a corner of the room.
So what are you going to do now that you've exposed who I really am? Hand me over to the police? Or will you overlook all the things I've done?
Her tone seems glib, almost cheerful.
Let's see. I'm not terribly interested in social justice. My role was just to make Shugo open his eyes. So why don't you direct that question to Kazuna-kun? She's your only little sister, the person you hated so much you tried to kill her. Shugo and the others probably won't object to whatever choice she makes.
Hold it! What are you trying to pull without my permission?
Oh, shut up. Your behavior only makes things worse. You have no say in this.
What?
Well, Kazuna-kun, go ahead and choose. We'll approve of whatever decision you arrive at.
Yura's wide-open eyes are fixated upon Kazuna, who's now completely flustered. After spending a while deep in thought, Kazuna finally opens her mouth to speak, wearing a troubled expression on her face.
Sis.
She stares straight back at Yura as she speaks.
Let's go to the police together. Please, atone for your crimes.
Kazuna. That good-natured Kazuna will protect Yura and forgive her of all wrongdoings, is what I had thought. But it looks like my preconceptions were overturned. However... As Yura stares down at the ground, a fierce smile forms upon her lips.
So that's how it all turns out. Even as you tell me you won't leave me.
Her gray eyes narrow into slits.
In the end, you cast me aside.
No, you're wrong. I'll always be waiting for you.
Kazuna yells back in earnest. Tears pouring out of her eyes, she fumbles with her words as she makes a desperate plea to Yura's heart.
I'll wait and wait for you to come back to me after you've made up for what you've done. Do it with your head held high, so you can live on. Do it so we can find happiness together.
Kazuna.
Sis, please.
Yura stands stock still, her eyes still downcast. An eternity of silence follows.
Right. So we can be happy together.
Everybody's attention is focused on Yura as she smiles.
I can't even imagine how wonderful that would be if it really came true.
It'll definitely happen. I'll do anything so it'll come true.
The sisters' eyes meet.
Okay. I'll atone for my crimes. Will you accompany me, Kazuna?
Sis!
Everybody inside the room breathes a collective sigh of relief. Yura. I sigh as well. I'd grown tense without realizing it. You're really going to give yourself up? She offers the slightest of nods before looking back down at the ground.
Hold it! If you do that, our family name will...
You old fart! Didn't I say you didn't have the right to speak?
Nana kicks Keiichiro in his butt for all she's worth, as he's standing there with his hands on Yura.
Ugh!
He falls forward and tumbles onto the floor.
You realize that your stinginess had a part to play in this whole tragedy, right? Do you actually comprehend that?
You bitch!
And as he raises his voice to protest...
Father! Please stop saying these embarrassing things. I just don't understand how you can value the family name more than your own daughter. If you say anything else to make Sis suffer, I'm gonna sever my ties with you, Father.
Kazuna.
Still seated on the floor, Keiichiro looks up at her with absolute shock. There's not a shred of his former dignity left. Come on, you're going too far. With the tension from earlier gone, a wry smile finds its way onto my face.
Sorry about that. I got a bit worked up there.
She blushes in embarrassment. Seeing her like that makes me start to think. It'll take an unimaginably long time for Yura to atone for her crimes. And once she's able to return to her daily life, things won't be peaceful and quiet for her. Prejudice from society, criticism, the wounds in her heart. The relatives of the victims probably won't just sit idly by and let Yura off the hook. I can't even imagine how much pain and suffering Yura will have to endure before it's all over. Yet, a thought crosses my mind. That if Kazuna is there by her side, someday Yura will find salvation. Just as Kazuna has wished for. One day, we'll all live together happily. With our heads held high, we'll live on. That's the naive vision of the future my foolish mind's cooked up. But little did I realize that the real tragedy was just beginning.
Let's Done Project.